Yeah, I'm gonna go somewhere slightly quieter. Yeah. Okay. Just if you just switch. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Barada. I'm here from Parliament Square with Welsh rebels of XR Cymru, and today they are here to protest against continued investment in fossil fuels and everything else that is driving this climate catastrophe. Good morning to everyone who's logging in for the first time. I don't know how many of you will have caught the live stream that we were doing yesterday with the giant pink chair in the middle of 7 Dials. But if you're here today, biggest welcome to everyone who's new to XR, everyone who would love to be here but can't, but is sending their spirit from wherever you are at home. You are so valid and so welcome here. Today we're going to be following the different actions that are happening around London. So starting here with XR Cymru, but also going on to see the elders and XR grandparents with their greening your pension protest. That's later on this afternoon around somewhere else in London. Sorry, I don't know exact location. We'll also be looking at penitence, different arts and creative activities, and just keeping you up with anything that is happening here on the ground in London. So stay tuned and see what happens. Just drop in follow us on our Facebook or on our YouTube. Have a brilliant day of remote digital rebellion.
If you don't want to be, that's fine.
We've been doing it just about. We've just been doing it. They gave the green light to a new different light in Cumbria.
If I line up a couple of people for interviews.
Shouting.
I'm live streaming, but it's not live.
England since the Second War. Greenwash. Rose petrol diesel duties for 11th consecutive year. Greenwash. This government cut grants for electric car buyers with immediate effect. Greenwash. They cut air passenger duty for short and medium haul flights for the 9th year in a row. Greenwash. The UK government failed to call in expansion plans at 6 major commercial UK airports. Greenwash. They withdrew funds over 1 billion from the flagship Green Homes Grant Home Insulation Program. Greenwash. They are filing 17 out of 21 annual progress indications for third CO2 as reported by the own government climate change committee. Greenwash. And the own public accounts committee of UK government said that the government has no coordinated plan with clear milestones towards achieving the net zero gas emissions by 2060 target. Greenwash. Extinction Rebellion. Extinction Rebellion. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Climate justice. When do we want it? Now. Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to see you all. Welcome. Here's another speaker.
I'm being told that this will be taken away if we continue to use the megaphone. How many people here have heard people speak on amplified equipment in Parliament Square? I have. Since when has it been right for our voices to be taken away in this manner.
So your voices aren't being taken away.
You do it, Dred.
I'm not going to use that because we're not allowed to use it. But under the POSA, you're not allowed to say so I'm just,
No, but other people have used it. Other people, Christians have used
you might
it.
have done so, but I'm just passing.
Yeah.
I'm just passing.
Or one vote for one for another. One vote for one, and next vote for another, eh? I know.
I'm not going to say morning because it's online and I don't want to do it. Briefly, we're going to continue to speak on this until it's taken away. One of the first principle of Extinction Rebellion is that we tell the truth. So let's just briefly talk about the truth for a moment. At the moment, globally, we're at 1.2 degrees above the pre-industrial average. In fact, last year, we were at 1.28 degrees. The accumulated greenhouse gases we have already emitted into the atmosphere, if we were to stop all emissions today, would continue to heat the world by at least 0.2 degrees. This means that, in effect, we are already at 1.5 degrees C. I'm in the fortunate position of having had to interview a lot of climate scientists recently, and none of them, unfortunately, have eased my mind in any of these regards. We are, in effect, already at 1.5 degrees C. So what we hear in the news about what we need to do to get there, we have to face the reality that this is not an achievable target minus technologies that we don't have. Everybody says that we needed to do this yesterday. We needed to do this yesterday. People have to start listening. People have to come out. The fact is that our policymakers will continue to procrastinate unless they feel a sense of public pressure and a sense of urgency. And we, Extinction Rebellion, are the only group who are applying that pressure in a meaningful way. We had activists on the front of the Financial Times today and of the Telegraph. We are back. COVID broke my spirit for a while, and I imagine it broke many of yours. But the situation has become worse and will continue to become worse. Our children and everybody's children around the world face a future only if our policymakers move. And our policymakers will only move if the public tell them to move. It is our absolute responsibility to be here. It is the absolute responsibility of everybody we know to be here. It is an outrage that everybody in this city is not here in Parliament Square at the moment demanding a future for their children. So please continue to come. We must. It is our absolute right and our absolute obligation. And we must tell everybody we know to come as well. Because if we don't, the consequences do not bear thinking about. Thank you very much.
What do we want? When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! Anyone else want to risk arrest and come and talk? All right, I'll stay here then. What do we want to talk about? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! Join.
Hello, I'm an ordinary woman. I'm 62 years old. Hello, can you hear me? I'm an ordinary woman. My name's Chrissy. I'm 62 years old. And until I met the glorious Extinction Rebellion, I was never involved in climate politics. Extinction! I have realised arrived, they educated me in half an hour about the urgency of standing up and taking action. I am appealing to all the women of the UK of about my age. We've had it good. I've had a home all my life. I have never known hunger. I have always had work. And although employed in quite a lowly position, I've been able to buy a house, and I even have a small pension. If I'm not going to stand up for the children of the planet, who the hell is? Yeah. I urge you, when we get to 60, they tell us, do this, have Botox, you're discarded, you're finished. I'm going to tell you, if you join Extinction Rebellion, you will be reborn. You will be standing on the right side of history, and you will be able to say, I am standing with some of the most brilliant people I have ever met in my life. People who you can count on. People who are not going to jet off to Corfu when Afghanistan has been left in tatters. No! Let me just say something as someone who has been married to a wonderful man from Iran for 31 years. If you have a Muslim as your friend, they will share their last piece of bread with you. If you have a Muslim friend who loves you, they will lay down their life for you. Let us stop this brainwashing that this imperialist, colonial capitalist system is destroying us and diverting us from our true mission in life, to live in harmony with nature, with our brothers, with our sisters, with the animals, with the rivers and the forests. Let's get by cooperation, love and sharing. Fuck capitalism!
Rebellion! Rebellion!
Extinction!
Rebellion!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it? Now! What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Rupert. He's going to talk about what he's going to talk about.
Thanks everyone, I'm Rupert Reed. It's good to see you all here today. And it's obvious that the police are going to be here.
Sorry, we want to hear from more ordinary women first. We need to hear from more.
May I just say a word about the policing?
Okay.
That's all I wanted to do. I want to say a word about the policing because we are at risk of having this megaphone taken away, as you may have gathered. And I have to say that the way that Extinction Rebellion is being policed this time is really quite problematic. Right, this is one example. Another example, I was down at the pink table this morning near Leicester Square, and they're soaring that up as we speak, and they're blocking all the streets. In other words, it's the police, not the protesters, that are actually causing the disruption. The police are blocking all the streets, whereas all we were doing was blocking one particular intersection. Now, this is a choice. This is political policing. If you look at the way that the G7 was policed in Cornwall recently, I was there, probably some of you were there, it was very different. It was much more participatory policing. They facilitated the protest. The choice that the police are making here today is a choice. The choice that Cressida Dick is making in choosing how to police these protests as a whole is a choice. They can make a different choice. You will see a different choice being made, I confidently predict, at the G7 protest, at the COP26, in Glasgow in November. Crucial to come to that. You'll see the Scottish police, I predict, being, again, much more participatory. So I want to say to the Met and to all of us here today, please let's make the right choices. The police should be choosing to facilitate this protest. What harm does this do? This one little megaphone. We're surrounded by all this traffic, right? Surely they should allow this to go ahead. This is completely peaceful, and we're not even blocking any roads, right? So whenever the police try to clamp down hard, here today, this week, next week, please make sure that everyone realises that they and everyone realises doing so is a choice, and it's the wrong choice, and they can make a different choice. Let's all help them to make the right choice for a common future. Thank you, everyone.
I changed my diet to plant-based because of the greenhouse gas emissions in agriculture. So I challenge you, the world leader, to decarbonise the animal agriculture industry.
Working together, every reduction of our carbon footprint will help towards the climate crisis. For me, I've supported moving away from the fast fashion industry, using recycled, reused or vintage clothes. And I challenge you, leaders at the COP summit, to make meaningful and radical system change, cutting the funding on fossil fuels and promoting progressive changes to the transport sector in the COVID-19 recovery.
For my bit, I'm giving up a significant amount of my time for environmental activism, campaigning against ecocide and the destruction of nature. So I'm challenging you, world leaders at COP. Stop the destruction of nature by protecting existing forests and by making ecocide a crime. We are doing our bit. We need you to do your bit.
I'm a working class person who's always one paycheck away from being homeless. And because of the actions that I take with Extinction Rebellion, because I really love this planet. It's beautiful, it's so beautiful. We've been given this Eden. So for me, to defend all life on Earth is the most natural thing in the world that a person can do. And for that, I'm being held to a disciplinary at my workplace. I work with wildlife. For protecting wildlife, I'm facing disciplinary procedures. I'm facing court action. I'm currently surrounded by the police that are supposed to, be upholding my rights and protecting me. And on that, I want to say something as well. I am so sorry to, my black, brown, and ethnic minority brothers and sisters. I had no idea about your pain. I've lived most of my life in ignorance. Grown up in an education system that has programmed me to be a certain way, and I'm so sorry. And I'm so grateful to this movement to open my eyes a little bit, and I hope that continues. And I'm just so grateful to everyone that's here. And our numbers may not be huge, but I feel like our hearts are and our faith is, and I still feel like I'm in the right place.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now we're going to hear from John.
Right, first of all, can you hear me? Have I got this on correctly? Yeah? No?
Needs to be louder.
Okay, is that better? No. Is that better? Okay. Okay, right now, okay. Okay, so now I'm going to just mention a couple of things. First of all, I used to work in that building there, and then I'm going to mention a couple of facts about the reasons why we are here, and then I'm going to talk a tiny bit about white privilege, because I think for people like me, it's relevant that we should talk about our privilege. Now, I used to work in that building there, that's the Treasury building. I used to work for HM Revenue and Customs. I had a career there, and I was fortunate enough, incredibly lucky enough, to actually be given an early retirement package at the age of 52. And I went off and I dedicated my time, my pension, my life. This struggle is my life. And that is one of the things about white privilege, that I earn a lot of money there working for the government. Now, loads of my friends who just go off and play a round of golf every day and chinwag and talk about them, whatever it is that interests them, and go flying off for holidays abroad, and they'll have a great time. But your white privilege, let's not deny it. Let's not, pretend it's not true. There is a white privilege because doors open for me more easily than they open for others. And for years, people like me had the benefit of that. People like President Dick have had the benefit of that. People like Boris Johnson. People like David Cameron. Oh boy, the doors open for David Cameron and Boris Johnson.
Hi everyone, I'm really delighted to be able to have the opportunity to speak over this live stream. You can see what's going on now. We've got some incredible Welsh rebels and other rebels just off Parliament Square outside, I think, HM Revenue and Customs, and somehow these incredible rebels have managed to get lock-ons right in the middle of the road, just off Parliament Square. By the look of it, they've done an incredible job. And to be honest, it just feels like a privilege. There's a little location, isn't that clever? A little location. So if you're in London, get yourself down there. Support these beautiful people. I find it hard to actually put into words the love that I feel for these people. It's really quite emotional. I've been listening to the live stream for a good while now, and the speeches, if you were listening to those speeches in the last half hour or so, my goodness, they were amazing. Absolutely amazing, really humbling, so human, so much love. And you can see also on this shot now, you know, the police are they're getting pretty heavy-handed, aren't they? They're straight in there. And as Rupert Reed mentioned briefly on his speech a minute ago, that the Met have really chosen how they're policing this. They're chosen to intervene, to be heavy-handed, and they're not being proportionate, are they? They're really not being proportionate. We know that. But look at these beautiful rebels. They are incredible. The Welsh flag flying there. I feel very proud. I'm part Welsh myself. So Exo Cymru, thank you for all you're doing. And everyone that's down there. And if you're in London and you're watching this, if you're already in Rebellion and you're somewhere else in the city, come on down. HMRC offices, they need you right now. If you're watching this at home and maybe you're interested and sympathetic to the rebellion, but you've not made that step to get involved yet, climate refugees, it's real, it's happening now, folks. So if you're watching this, I know there are many people who are sympathetic to the movement. You know, the polls tell us that the vast majority of people are really concerned and want real action, and they want action on climate more than they want action on the economy. They've realized that actually the ecology is more important than the economy now. So people are on our side, and children and families are suffering and dying as we speak. We know that, don't we? So if you're watching this at home and there's any way you can get to London, come on down. You will be welcomed with open arms. And if you don't feel you can get arrested, there's lots and lots of things you can do to support us. There's talks and trainings going on. You can get the relevant training you need and you can get involved straight away. And if you can't do any of that, just come and be present. Bring your body. You can stay on the pavement. You can stay in an area where you're not risking arrest if that's of a concern for you. Just come and join us. And if you're shielding at home or you're unable to physically join us, look up Digital Rebellion. You can do some online rebelling to support us. You can donate on our donations page to support rebels, support those people who risk arrest and have legal fees and so on. These incredible people. Many of us, most of us, take time off work, away from families to be here, myself included. So, get on the streets. I'll be joining these wonderful people later in the day when I'm not talking to media and other things. So please do support us in any way you can. It's so important that we break through this culture war that the media and the government are playing. We know this is not about culture wars. It's not about clickbait. It's not about TV ratings. It's way, way beyond that. This is about life and death, as all of the incredible speakers in the last half hour have so passionately said. It's totally indisputable. We have a moral weight upon our shoulders, don't we? We are the generation alive now. It's upon us to take this action. So support us in any way you can. We know that people on the whole are behind what we're doing. You might not like the way we're doing it, but we have no choice. Believe me, many of us have tried everything else. And indeed, diesel does kill, doesn't it? All fossil fuels, unfortunately, kill. And, we know this latest IPCC report makes grim reading. Most of us have known the truth for ages, but nonetheless, this latest report says very, very, very clearly every ton of CO2 emitted into the atmosphere causes more harm. Every ton. And there's pictures of, there's burning in Wales going on. My goodness, a fire in Wales. That's really shocking. In the Welsh valleys. And if you are in Wales or care about Wales, as I do, from family history, then if you look at the global flooding map, there are beautiful parts of Wales that are going to be underwater in the next years to come. Not in a distant time away, but in years to come. So whatever part of the country that you're from or that you care about, none of us are safe. All of the places that we love and that we care about are at threat. And I can, you know, Greece used to be a place that maybe some people have been on holiday or might dream of going on holiday, but now it looks like an apocalyptic nightmare, doesn't it? This is here now, folks. It's here now. And we are the alarm clock. And people might not like the alarm clock, just like kids don't like being woken up by their mums when they've got to go somewhere early in the morning. But, you know, we've all got to be the alarm clock. So join us and raise the alarm, because people are waking up, but our politicians and our banking system, oh my goodness, they are so far from awake. So yes, I was proud to be part of the Barclays actions taken earlier this year. Really proud to call Barclays out as the worst fossil fuel funder in Europe. 144 billion they've spent on fossil fuels in the last 5 years since the Paris Agreement. So these banks have done this in the full knowledge of what they were doing. They can't plead ignorance. And with this latest IPCC report, it could not be clearer. You know, are you on the side of justice and life, or are you on the side of criminality and death? We can't say it any clearer. And, you know, our wonderful colleagues in the Stop Ecocide campaign are on a long journey to make ecocide a crime. It's going to be a crime in the international courts, and it's, you know, it's making its way. It's on that long journey, and they've now defined a crime of ecocide. It's got a set of wording around it that's been put together by some of the world's leading barristers. So what's really clear now is people who are not on the side of the science and the truth, you know, hopefully in the not too distant future, they're going to be in the courts facing ecocide charges. So these people in the governments and in the fossil fuel industry, in the banks, in these investment houses across London, they're going to be in the courts facing ecocide charges. So they really need to realise this. It's totally untenable what they're doing. And you know, we just have to keep doing this, don't we? We have no choice. We have no choice. And that sticker that we saw there, or that sign saying oil and gas cause war, they're so right, aren't they? They are so right. You know, when scarcity hits, when food shortages hit, when water, you know, we're in water wars around different parts of the world already. We know that, don't we? We know that the Syrian conflict has been exacerbated by droughts that led to crop failures, that feed into extremism when people can't get food for their families. You know, you and I would be no different. We need to feed our families. And we don't make enough connection with the food supply. You know, there are crops being devastated all around the world. Crop prices have gone through the roof for some crops in different continents. Only last year, the UK's wheat harvest was down by 40% in 1 year. But of course, that didn't make the BBC or any mainstream media, because they don't want to, I don't know. I don't even know where they are anymore. I'm almost beyond words. The BBC seems to have lost its way totally on this agenda. Totally lost its way. And yeah, we are beyond any conversation about balance, aren't we? I had the privilege of speaking for our beautiful movement very briefly on the Jeremy Vine show this morning on Channel 5. And, you know, what are you doing, Channel 5? What are you doing? You have this, you know, this panel of two people, one person supporting XR and one woman, just Carol Malone, I think her name was, just ranting about how we've got no plan. Why the hell is it our job to have a plan? We're not the government. We're normal, ordinary men, women, young people, grandmas, grandpas. What the hell? I'm not an international policy specialist. I'm a mum. It's not my job to have a plan. It's the government's job to have a plan. It's the International Energy Agency's job to have a plan. It's the bank's job to have a plan. It's not my job to have a plan. It's not your job to have a plan, folks, on the streets. It's our job to raise the alarm. And for governments, corporations, and all these national and international bodies who are supposed to be running the show, it's their job to have a plan. We have to make them have a plan. It's not our job to know all the answers, but we know the truth, don't we? We really clearly know the truth. And yeah, we know but flying insect populations have dropped by 75% in Germany and many other countries. We know that HMRC, oh my God, HMRC are banking with Barclays. What's that about? I think probably quite a lot of parts of government bank with Barclays, but HMRC, that's bonkers. They have huge amounts of money going through their accounts, don't they? All of our taxes go through their accounts. Why are they making Barclays richer? That really is bonkers. So thank you to beautiful Welsh rebels for highlighting the sheer bonkersness of our government. You know, our tax money must be going to a Barclays bank account. What? What? Come on, HMRC, you can do better than that. You really can. You really can do better than that. You know, I think I can hear some other voices in the background, but I think I should keep going for the moment until someone tells me not to. But HMRC, really, I can't believe that the civil servants in HMRC think this is a good thing. There are some, you know, good people working in our civil service. Some of them are really sympathetic to us and what we're doing. Probably would love to join us on the side, and maybe some of them already do, but don't talk about it. You know, if you're in the civil service and you're watching this, you know, we love you too. If you're in HMRC, do whatever you can to get them to move their bank account. Now, wouldn't that be a good bit of media? HMRC move bank account to Triodos or someone else more ethical. You know, make Barclays do the right thing and pull out our fossil fuels. It's not rocket science, is it? It's never been rocket science, guys. It's never been rocket science. And only this morning, Carol Malone was berating us and berating me for not having a plan. What? It's not our job to have a plan. But what we do have is really, really clear demands. You know, tell the truth, act now. We have an immediate demand of stop funding all new fossil fuel projects now, end of, full stop. Do it now. That's the first step governments need to do. It's super clear. And we need citizens' assemblies at every level, local, national, global. Super, super clear. What's not to like? You know, what's not to like? In fact, I was just looking up this morning in case it came up in the conversation about gender balance, you know, because I realised I was going to be interviewed by Trisha Goddard on the Jeremy Vine show, and you know, she's a woman, so I thought she might be interested in citizens' assemblies and gender and race and 34% women in Parliament at the moment. But, you know, one of the wonderful things about citizens' assemblies, of course, is they automatically be 50% women. So, you know, right away, you've got an equality of women's voices, different age groups, different backgrounds, levels of wealth, different ethnicities, you know, all the things that the richness of the human family in this country and beyond would be represented. It's truly beautiful. So, yeah. Oh, you can see that beautiful rebel has brought a picture. It looks like it's her and her son. I've seen a number of rebels. Yeah, there's, oh, bless her. There are her two sons. And I mean, it's, as a mum, it's hard for me to find words. Really, it's hard to find words to express that. I don't know if you were listening or at the beautiful pink table yesterday, whether you heard the live stream or you were there, but one of the speakers was an 11-year-old girl, and she knew, you know, she was talking about, she's learnt this stuff at school, and she knows about climate, and she knows about the injustices, and she knows about the inequalities that are connected to the system that causes the destruction. And she's got a 5-year-old brother. She's got two brothers, one's 2 and one's 5. And she was talking about how the 2-year-old's really only a baby, and he doesn't know what's going on. He's a baby. But she already at the age of 11 is concerned about the future for her 2 brothers, age 5 and 2. I mean, 11-year-old children should not be having to worry about this. It's not right. It's not right. You know, they need us to be the grown-ups in the room. They need us to be the adults in the room.
£30 billion into the fossil fuel industry since the Paris Agreement in 2015.
He's so right.
HMRC, who do they bank with? Barclays. Every man, woman and child who pays taxes country pays into Barclays.
Wow.
Only HMRC
Wow. That's really impactful, isn't it?
In the climate crisis we face today. So are we, because they make us so. That's why we're here today. That's why our target is here today, to demand
Okay, so what?
HMLC divest from Barclays, and the Barclays divest from fossil fuels.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Excel Cymru. Couldn't agree more. Let's just listen to the speech.
HMRC's
And,
procurement policy forbids them from using unsustainable suppliers and contractors. Are Barclays Bank sustainable? No! Are HMRC therefore sustainable? What do we demand? Divestment! Divestment! Going to do a little song. I have to get my words out.
Chap, have you got the chance? They're doing some training in the park. If you could check that out, if no one doesn't want to be here.
I understand some training going on in the park if you don't like my singing. I don't know why. I'm Welsh, I should be able to sing. To explain, this does contain graphic images that you may want to erase from your memory. But it's simple, you just repeat after me. We do the chorus first. It's a US marching song. So you repeat after me. Divest, divest. Divest, divest. Divest, divest from the east to the west. Divest, divest, divest. Divest, divest from the east. You brilliant, you lot, I tell you. It gets a little bit more complicated. How many people speak Welsh? Enough. I'll keep it in English. Repeat after me. Barclays Bank and HMRC. Barclays Bank and HMRC. They're in bed, it's plain to see. They're in bed, it's plain to see. Where do we pay our hard-earned taxes? Where do we pay our hard-earned taxes? They go into greenhouse gases. They go into greenhouse gases. Government procurement policy. Government procurement policy. Forget about that, I know Rishi. Divest, divest. Divest, divest from the east to the west. Divest, divest, divest. Divest from the east to the west. Divest, divest, divest. How can we cut our emissions? How can we cut our emissions? When the banks are investing billions. When the banks are investing billions. They don't care about you and me. They don't care about you and me. Only in the money tree. Only in the money tree. When the earth is burnt and bare. When the earth is burnt and bare. You won't see them anywhere. You won't see them anywhere. Divest, divest. Divest, divest. Divest, divest. If you got a big chest. Divest, divest, divest. Who's in charge of our police? Pretty Patel and a secret, please. Pretty Patel and a secret, please. She don't get the situation. She don't get the situation. Cause Rupert Murdoch's got her attention. They can't protest in this place. They can't protest in this place. And she sits down by his face. And she sits down by his face. Divest, divest. Divest, divest. Divest, divest. We'll put it to the test. Divest, divest, divest. Divest, divest. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about tomorrow. Boris Johnson's a hero. Boris Johnson's a Oh, come on, I'm trying, yeah? Good
We will see our economy grow. It's got a trade deal with the UFO. And if you like a different harbour, we'll just give you Kia Starmer. Divest, divest. Divest, divest, if you know what's best. Divest, divest, divest. In the courts they got a dilemma. They don't know what's for the better. Can't change their decisions easy. The law says they're all guilty. But when he puts it to a jury, they just say they're doing their duty. Divest, divest. Divest, divest, cause there's no time left. Divest, divest, divest. Divest, divest, cause there's no time left. Divest, divest. Divest, divest, cause there's no time left. Divest, divest, divest.
Hi everyone, I am currently in Whitehall, where various Extinction Rebellion rebels have locked onto oil barrels and other lock-ons to protest against Barclays investment. I'm just going to interview this very brave lady here and ask her about what she's got with her. So hi, I'm live streaming to XR Facebook and XR YouTube page. Can you just tell me why you're here and what you've brought with you?
I'm here because, as we all know, the government declared a climate emergency. Since then, they have done nothing. We're on the brink of catastrophe, the extinction of humanity. We're on track for 4 degrees of global warming, possibly up to 9 degrees. 3 degrees means the entirety of Africa will be unfarmable. We're looking at mass global food shortages, mass refugees. And I have 2 nephews who I love more than anything. And I want to, in 10 years' time, when they're old enough to know what's happening, and they ask me what I did about it, I want to tell them I did absolutely everything that I can. I've never done this before. I'm not a rule breaker, but this is too important. We all need to be here. Everybody needs to be doing this.
Do you have a message for people at home, particularly those who perhaps can't get out to the streets for, whatever healthcare or responsibilities they have or the work that they have? Do you have a message for them? How can they help?
I mean, there's so many different roles. You don't need to be doing this. XR has people behind the scenes. It has people from home. Has people who can't take risks at all. So please, your local group is desperate for you. You don't have to. You can take baby steps. Every baby step is a step in the right direction.
Thank you. So we can see that the police are beginning to move in. For all of you at home, I know that it seems like a really dramatic thing to be doing, to be blocking off roads, but I think it's really important as a way of raising awareness and raising the alarm because no one is doing anything. But it doesn't mean that you have to lock on in order to make a difference. You have your power. You could tweet, retweet, tell friends, write to your politicians, make some noise, do whatever you can. We can't just let the planet burn around us. Hi, I like your T-shirt. No music on a dead planet. Can you just sort of let me know why you're here? What is it that you're? Why are you here? What are you protesting for? What messages do you have for anyone who's listening at home?
So I'm here because, well, not because I want to be, but because the government continue to invest in fossil fuels. Our tax-paying money is being sent abroad, and it's also being spent here in the UK. I'm here for my daughter, who's 6 months old, but not only her, but the 1.1 billion children that UNICEF have said are at risk of flooding and climate chaos around the world. And I don't know how I can take the government seriously at the moment when their own pension fund is invested in fossil fuels. They talk the talk, they're not walking the walk. We need them to cut off the lines of fossil fuels. It's code red for humanity, as the IPCC report said only a couple of weeks ago. And we need action. I don't want to be here, but unfortunately, this is all I feel I can do right now. I'm in lots of campaign groups for years and years and years, and where does it get me? And where does it get us? It's really frustrating, and that's why I'm here with others.
Thank you. I'll just sort of pick up on the one thing that this gentleman said at the beginning about the UNICEF report. A recent UNICEF report stated that almost every child will be impacted by pollution and climate change. That's almost every child. And half of all children are at an extreme risk of impact. That means that more than one thing will affect them, whether that could be a mix of pollution and rising sea levels. It could be food shortages and water shortages, increasing heat, flooding, increased humidity in combination with heat. I think it's worth just letting that sink in for a moment, just what an impact climate change will have. I'm just going to put this lady, but first I just want to show you the image that she's holding. One side says water scarcity. This is some flooding. I'm not sure you can see the picture because I'm not sure what's being shown, but it's yeah. So this is flooding in one of the tube stations that happened in London recently. So you can see that climate change is not affecting just people around the world in the global south, but it's also affecting us here today. I'm just going to ask this lady why she's here. I can see that you're locked on to some wooden structure, or like minor wooden structure in Whitehall. Why are you here today, and what message do you have for anyone who's watching at home?
So I'm here today because it's ridiculous that the UK government is using Barclays, which is funding fossil fuels and therefore climate disaster. And in the year of COP26, when the UK is supposed to be leading towards a climate solution, they still behave like this. It's unspeakably ridiculous. We've no time left. It's time to divest from banks like Barclays.
Thank you. And a note for anyone at home: if you are banking with someone, you're not quite sure, where they may be invested, I encourage you just to ask questions. Also, look and see if there's somewhere where you can move your money to. Just a shout out to Triodos, which I know is a bank that will not invest in anything that causes climate change and instead puts money into green energies and anything that leads to social change and social betterment. I'm sure they're not the only one, but do a bit of research, ask some questions, find out if you can put your money somewhere better.
Our lovely singer who brought our song able to sing. Did he actually tell us, what actually brought you first here today? The reason why I'm here today is because we all know we're in a climate crisis. We all know we've got to stop burning fossil fuels, but there's no alternative in the current system. Barclays Bank are the worst investor in fossil fuels in Europe. 130 billion since the Paris Climate Agreement. Can you imagine what the 130 billion pounds would have done if it had gone into insulated homes, if it had gone into providing renewable energy, or even better still finding a way for storing that renewable energy? The only actual action we've taken on climate change since the 1980s is by closing our coal mines. We didn't do that to fight climate change. We did that because it was uneconomical. That's the only. Our government brags that they've cut carbon emissions by 40%. First of all, it's nowhere near 40% if we measure it correctly. And secondly, it's all by accident. They're not investing the money in the technology we need to live in the future. We've got to divest from fossil fuels now. No more investment in fossil fuels. That's XR's demand, and that should be everybody's demand. There is no excuse. We've got to do it now. HMRC use Barclays the bank. So every man, woman and child in this country have to pay their taxes to Barclays. It's not sustainable. Their procurement policy says they have to use sustainable suppliers. They're not using a sustainable supplier. They're breaking their own rules. They have to divest from Barclays Bank, and they have to divest fossil fuels completely and into renewable energy now, so that we've got a future. Now, there's no time now. We're on the crest. Climate change is not a binary thing. There's no sort of half safe in it. There's no mitigation. When climate change goes, it's like catching a ball that's falling off the end of the cliff. You either catch it or you don't. If we don't catch it now, it's gone. We've missed our opportunity. Now it's time to act. Not 2050. How can you possibly have a policy, the government policy, zero carbon emissions by 2050? 30 years into the future. 30 years into the future. We'd be lucky if we see past 10 years. We're already on the cusp of hitting 1.5 degrees, which is what the target they put for limiting emissions by the end of the century. Yeah, 80 years early. 80 years early. We're almost in the place where we said we weren't going to be in 80 years' time. 2025 is the target.
I changed my diet to plant-based because of the greenhouse gas emissions in animal agriculture. So I challenge you, the world leaders at COP, to decarbonise the animal agriculture industry.
Working together, every reduction of our carbon footprint will help towards the climate crisis. For me, I've supported moving away from the fast fashion industry, using recycled, reused or vintage clothes. And I challenge you, leaders at the COP summit, to make meaningful and radical system change, cutting the funding on fossil fuels and promoting progressive changes to the transport sector in the COVID-19 recovery.
For my bit, I'm giving up a significant amount of my time for environmental activism, campaigning against ecocide and the destruction of nature. So I'm challenging you, world leaders at COP. Stop the destruction of nature, by protecting existing forests, and by making ecocide a crime. We are doing our bit. We need you to do your bit.
Just tell me why we're.
Yeah, John Fuller. I used to work in this building here. It's HM Revenue and Customs. And HM Revenue and Customs banks with Barclays Bank. Barclays is one of the worst, if not the worst bank in the country for investing in fossil fuel projects. Now, there's no way that any kind of ethical organisation should ever be banking with Barclays Bank. And yet, if you like, the bank account that virtually, the organisation virtually all of us have to deal with, HMRC, effectively invests in Barclays, and it's got to divest. It's got to close its account with Barclays and demonstrate that we, our country, and we, the people, no longer want to invest in anything horrible like Barclays and investments in fossil fuels. So that's why we're here today. Very, very noisy. But the key message is, I used to work with HM Revenue and Customs. I had a period of time here in this building, and around about 20 years ago, we had a big argument. The organisation had a big argument about what sort of advertising it was willing to accept for its internal magazines, because some of these internal magazines were being sponsored by private sector organisations. And we had one very large, well-known private sector organisation that was sponsoring one of our magazines. Stopping what it saw as a war on people to any motorist to drive as fast as they like, when and where they like. It opposed, the organisation opposed speed cameras, speed enforcement, and as a result, people are getting killed. So we had a big argument in there. And the argument came down to the fact that we actually we felt we had a moral purpose, we felt that we had to have an ethical policy, and 20 years ago we made that decision. So why the hell is it, in this day and age, that the HM Revenue and Customs is still banking with Barclays? It is inconsistent with its policies. So that's why we're here. We want HMRC out of Barclays. Out of Barclays for good and have nothing to do whatsoever with any evil banking empire that is still investing money in fossil fuels that kill millions of people. You know, this is really what it comes down to. Do you support an industry that kills millions of people, or are you opposed to it? HM Revenue and Customs has to make that decision. Okay?
Thank you.
September.
Being here, like, why?
I would much rather be at home. Yeah. But, it's important that we're here, so many people here, raising awareness of what the government is permitting. We are destroying the planet. Barclays are complicit in it. All our taxes go to Barclays through the tax revenue. Barclays then investing in fossil fuels and destruction of the planet. So we are, by paying taxes, we are aiding and abetting the destruction of life on Earth.
Would you advise people to leave Barclays if they're banking with Barclays?
Definitely, without question. If they haven't done already, they have to wonder why.
Yeah, and to tell everybody.
And to tell everybody. Yeah. We're all in this together. It doesn't matter where you're from or who you are or anything. We're all in it together. We all go down together.
What do you think's going to happen today to you now?
Probably going to get arrested. It's a shame. But I have 2 children, and I would rather know that I've done this for them rather than not. I think we all have a duty to think of future generations.
Do you think your kids are proud of you?
They are, I know they are.
Yeah.
Without question.
Do you think they might be a bit worried as well, or?
Definitely worried. Nobody wants to get arrested. Nobody wants to waste police time, court time, money that should be spent on other stuff. The likelihood is that if we go to court, it'll just get overturned on appeal. Juries forgive us. They know what we're doing is vital. But the courts have to follow the laws. The laws of the land are not working at the moment.
And what about Barclays as well? Because the head of Barclays, they have quite a lot to do with the media as well, don't they? One paper in particular. Do you think maybe they've got a bit too much power?
Too much power. There's greenwashing going on. There's spending going on. There's shareholders, all over the place who want to make more money. As if they want to make as much money as they possibly can in the years before the end. They're not thinking of the future. They're thinking of their pocket now. That is anybody who has shares in Barclays, anybody who invests in Barclays, anybody who has the last £5 in Barclays, it all makes a difference. We all carry this together. We all go down together. Or we all survive together. We're not on our own in this. We're a fortunate country here. Madagascar, there's half of Madagascar people living on grass and locusts. There's nothing left. The impact is around the world now. We've had floods in London, we've had floods in Germany, we've had fires all over the place. The impact is now. We all have to do what we can now.
That's great, thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers.
This is the edited version of my defence statement that I gave in the City of London Magistrates Court in April. Having been arrested for a Section 14 offence in Parliament Square last September. In the court, I was being called Thomas First Line. I would like first to thank the court for its time and this opportunity to speak. My name under regular circumstances is Tom. I am 45 years old, a writer and a tutor in creative writing. I have 2 parents of retirement age and 2 children of primary school age. I am a member of Extinction Rebellion. My son, our son, Edwin, is 11 years old. Edwin is a kind, sharp, long-limbed boy, athletic in a way that I never have been, taller than I was at his age. Edwin, in the mornings, Edwin likes to get up before me to creep downstairs and hide to make me jump when I come into my tea. This amuses him endlessly. After this, in the spring and the summer, the two of us will often go and walk in the lanes to test one another on the flowers in the hedgerows. Edwin likes to fight me, and Edwin likes to hug me. He worries. He likes things orderly. At the moment, he's fascinated by the folk guitarist Richard Thompson, although these past few weeks he has also become interested in evolution, especially the famous story of the peppered moth, and in Welsh history, especially the circumstances around the death of Llewellyn ap Griffith. His sister Alice is 8 years old. There are times when I think I'm exaggerating when I say that Alice never stops singing, but this is more or less the case. Unlike Edwin, Alice does not like the morning, but you know when she wakes up because the singing starts. A slightly husky voice, rich with vibrato, powerful enough to be heard throughout the house. She makes up her own songs, as she always has, and the songs are beautiful, perfectly pitched. Until the pandemic closed it down, the children's mother, my partner Charlie, ran a cafe in Bracken, our local town. Outside the cafe, there is a sill where Alice would install herself, and with a Tupperware pot at her side, perform her songs for passers-by. She could sometimes earn more than £10 in an hour. Alice is small and dark in complexion, with hair that reaches past her waist. She is fiery, imaginative, often stroppy, very ticklish, very keen on cuddling, and very, very sociable. When her hair is tied in a bun, she resembles little Pie from the movie stories. In the mornings, normally, we will cycle down to school. On the long narrow road, I will ride in the middle and Edwin will come at the rear. When we reach the busy roundabout at the bottom of the hill, I will go first, with Alice in the middle and Edwin at the rear, and lead them into Llanfaes to their school. We resemble, I often think, a duck with their duckling.
Love you, thank you. You're amazing. I'm not doing it. Extinction! Sometimes the best thing to do. Everyone just stop. Should we stop? No, everybody stop for a moment and thought. That would be one of the best things they could do. Exactly. Yeah. They've got something to think. You know, like just take a pause and think about what we're doing as a country. You know, look around you, look what's going on. Think about what you're doing here. You are the same as us. There's no difference between you and I. They don't care. Does anybody want to sing a song? They do care.
This dark material decays in space. I do this because we all enjoy it, because it settles them down in peace and in security. I do these sorts of things all the time because I'm an ordinary parent.
Hi everybody, I'm Kate and I am at London Bridge Station this morning with the XR UK elders and grandparents who are doing their special action today. It's all about pensions because turns out, who knew, our pensions are absolutely saturated in oil. And I've got Mariana here to tell us about the action, why it's happening.
Hi, I'm Mariana from XR Brighton, and the reason that we're here today is we have one of our demands in XR is that our governments act now, but also our banks and our pensions are invested in fossil fuels. So last week we had the IPCC report, 3,000 climate scientists who have now made it perfectly clear, it's undeniable that the global warming, global heating is caused by human action, i.e. fossil fuels. So we want that to stop. And an easy way would be for our banks and our investment companies, our pension funds, to divest from fossil fuels. It's something that they can do today. So, for example, we've had some actions with Barclays Bank, who, since the Paris Climate Treaty of 2015, have invested $150 billion in fossil fuels. The largest investor in fossil fuels are actually JP Morgan. So we found it very effective when we do outreach to speak to people. They can go and say to Barclays, I don't want to bank with you anymore, and because I'm scared, I'm terrified for my children, and will you please stop investing in fossil fuels? So the word we use is divesting. Now, the biggest investment fund in the City of London is called BlackRock. Many people may not have heard of it, but they're a kind of fund of funds, and they have up to $3 trillion. Can you imagine? Under investment. So if we could just get one company to divest from fossil fuel, it would be a huge benefit for our planet, for our children. And this is why I rebel. This is why we rebel. So it's a lovely come together today, the elders and the grandparents at London Bridge.
So, Mariana, do you think that the majority of pensioners in this country have got any idea?
I don't know. And I think that's why it's so important when we do outreach on the streets of our cities, when we stand in front of Barclays and we tell people, I think generally now are aware about the climate crisis. People are also terrified, and but one of the things that you can do for the climate crisis is speak to your bank. Tell Barclays you don't want them investing, or move your money away, and this is a part of Extinction Rebellion we call Money Rebellion.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Let me know if there's...
When the whistle goes, everybody points at the banner. Quite a cool idea. And so in a minute, thank you, Mariana, I shall go and find one or two other of our elders to have a chat with.
Let me know if you have further questions.
Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Kate. It's so important what you're doing.
Thank you.
I work for Reuters, so the media.
Okay. Now then. My mate Dave. Hello. Yeah, hi. I'm live streaming for XR UK. I just wondered if you'd like to tell me why you're here today.
Because I really want the government to divest from fossil fuels. Well, I want the government to act about fossil fuels, and anybody who holds pensions that include fossil fuels, I want them to divest, because our carbon emissions are still rising, and they're rising dangerously. We have to stop using fossil fuels.
How long were you kind of unaware, as a pensioner, don't mind me saying that?
No, I don't.
So I'm on too, but how long did it take you to kind of realise how dirty our pensions are?
The full impact, I think, came to me after I'd heard the head of Extinction talk. That's when I learned about the banks and how they're invested in fossil fuels, particularly Barclays and HSBC, and then the government pension funds, council pension funds, you name it, they've all got shares in fossil fuels. Government's still subsidising fossil fuels. We've got to divest. What a great future. The future for our grandchildren.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. And how do you feel as a rebel, as an elder in this movement?
I feel furious beyond belief with an inactive government.
Despite 50 years of such fine organisations as Greenpeace and Friends of the Earth, fundamentally nothing has changed. Our government has not listened. It has failed even on its own terms. In 2019, by the assessment of the CCC, it was 24 out of 25 of its climate targets. As Lord Devon, the chair of the CCC, said at the time, the whole thing is run by the government like a dad's army. We can't possibly go on with this ramshackle system. It doesn't begin to face the issues. It's a real threat to the population. And since then, there has been no improvement. Of the 31 milestones for actions recommended to the government by the CCC, for example, only 2 were fully achieved. In March this year, the Public Accounts Committee concluded that the government has, quote, no plan for addressing climate change. Given which, it might be reasonable to wonder how it was that in May 2019, the UK Parliament came to declare an environment and climate emergency, the first such declaration by any parliament in the world, and that in June the time was the most ambitious target of any major economy. Well, as regards the climate emergency, here I quote Jeremy Corbyn, the then leader of the opposition, as he moved that motion on May the 1st, 2019. We are witnessing an unprecedented upsurge of climate activism, with groups like Extinction Rebellion forcing the politicians in the building to listen. Today, we have the opportunity to say, we hear you. We hear you. As regards Theresa May signing into law a target of net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, here I quote the House of Commons Library acting on climate change, the plan for net zero emissions in the UK. In 2019, following Parliament's declaration of a climate emergency, a recommendation from the Independent Committee on Climate Change, the government legislated for net zero greenhouse gas emissions. I hardly feel I need to labour this point. Where petitions and protests and meetings with politicians have failed, the tactics of civil disobedience used by Extinction Rebellion have been, to some measure at least, successful. Yeah! As well as resulting in unprecedented levels of public concern about climate change, the actions of April 2019, in which I'm proud to have participated, if too briefly, led directly and demonstrably to Parliament's declaration of a climate emergency with the 2050 target following from that decision. Manifestly, this is cause and effect. I do not want to become a criminal. I do not deserve to become a criminal. I can state without the ghost of a doubt that to do as I and thousands of others of members of Extinction Rebellion have done was not merely justified, it was an absolute moral obligation. Yes! Yeah! I'm working to conclusion. I can mention the custody officer who on the night of September the 1st, 2020 locked me at Sally Charing Cross Police Station, where I remained until midday on September the 3rd. He was a little younger than me, perhaps, softly spoken, a wearer of glasses, though as my own glasses had been taken at the desk, I missed the details of his appearance. This officer, having brought me blankets, food and water, returned to the corridor and went to close the door, but then stopped and said to me, on behalf of myself and my children, I want to thank you for what you've done. I want to make it very clear that thanks is not directed at me, because there is no me, there is only us. That thanks is directed at all of us. So I'm here to pass those thanks on. Say thank you. You're doing the right thing. Keep doing it. We are on the right and history will prove this. Yes! If you'd like to know more about Extinction Rebellion, Human Rights or NVDA, please go to the telephone box by Westminster Tube. There's a woman there with a pink placard with a skeleton on it, and she'll be happy to organise your training. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Okay, hi, so we're here at London Bridge Station. We're at the XR Elders and Grandparents Action. I'm here with
Dave Traxon.
Dave Traxon, okay. So, Dave, tell us why you're here.
Do I put that in?
Yeah, okay.
Well, I think this is this campaign about pensions and disinvestment from the fossil fuel industry and reinvestment in the green economy is a win-win situation for everyone. Because if we encourage the pension funds and private investors to shift to green industries and create jobs and prosperity in green industries, we help to save the planet, but we also help to gain their investments. And so it's a real win-win. We save the planet, people carry on making money, and the planet is greener and safer for our children and grandchildren.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Could you describe what's happening here today?
Well, loads of grandparents and elders have met up, and we're every time the whistle blows, we're pointing to this very impressive banner, and to make the point to passers-by that this is the focus of our campaign, and we're engaging with members of the public as they pass by and getting a very good response, especially from family groups that have parents and children together. I would say about 90% of them are accepting leaflets and are responding very favourably with a smile or a nod or a comment. And so I think this campaign particularly wins with multi-generational families, parents, children and grandparents.
Amazing. And can you tell me something about yourself and how did you get involved in it?
I got involved in XR via Kate's enthusiasm, and I've been a child psychologist for my career, and I think the global crisis is a shared trauma. It's actually a shared trauma for families and children, and as a society we need to deal with this shared trauma because it's affecting people's mental health, it's affecting their well-being, it's affecting their ability to work, it's affecting their ability to be prosperous, and as a society we need to address the fact that people are being traumatized by the prospect of their